welcome to V-Kei the Podcast hosted by V-Kei Collectives. For today's episode, we are going to be talking about the band Royz. Royz has a really special place in my heart because I was able to see them while I studied abroad in Japan, but we'll get to that later. I got some of my information from visualkfandom.com, crimsonlotus.com, VKGY, jrock.com, and of course, Royz's website. The band Royz formed in September 28th, 2009 as a 4-piece band, later becoming a 5-piece band in 2010 when they signed under BP Records. They describe their concept as catchy and they wish to make music that appeals to all different kinds of people. Royz falls under the Kira Kira Kei. Now, Kira Kira Kei is basically Oshare Kei, but there are some nuances, and that's the reason why it is not necessarily under Oshare Kei. I will be doing an episode about Oshare Kei, about Kira Kira Kei. Basically, I will be doing an episode of all of the subgenres of Visual Kei, along with doing episodes of just individual bands. Is the current 4-member lineup is Subaru the vocalist, Kuina the guitarist, Kodai the bassist, and Tomoya the drummer. All of them have been in previous bands before as either supports or as just other members of groups. But just some fun facts and information about each member. Subaru is the vocalist. He was born February 14th, and he is half Peruvian. Kuina is the guitarist, whose birthday is July 5th, and is from Osaka Prefecture. Kodai is the bassist, whose birthday is July 3rd, and is from Hyugo Prefecture. And Tomoya, the drummer, his birthday is May 11th, and is from Osaka Prefecture. As I stated earlier, they were a 5-piece band. The former member, who was the guitarist, was Kazuki. He left in 2014 due to family matters. Information I found through Apple Music: they have about 32 EPs and singles, 7 albums, and 3 compilation albums, including 2 Royz the Best Ofs, and Family Party, which Family Party was a special release from BP Records. All of the bands that were under BP Records at the time collaborated and created this album. Thankfully, as of now, we can find all of their music on streaming services. Biggest thing with their streaming services is you'll see that there are type A, type B, type C for some of their music, and then for some they just have the release. That's really popular in print version. If you're thinking of buying any of their CDs, they absolutely have different versions of their CDs. The main thing being is some will include extra songs, some will include videos, the music video that they're producing. It all depends. That is really common within the Visual Kei realm. With Royz, thankfully, like I said, I was able to see them in 2018, and it was a really cool, unexpected experience. I knew when I went to Japan in 2018, I wanted to see some of my favorite artists and just some artists in general. The timeline of me and my love for Japanese music in general really started off when I got into anime. Of course, like as a kid, I think for most of us, we started off listening to J-pop. And from that, we just slowly transitioned into our more niche areas of interest. And of course, I think there's this interesting pipeline where sometimes we kind of start off in the J-pop J-pop realm, right? Because we've been introduced to anime. If anime is not your thing, I understand that, but at some point, somehow J-pop was introduced to you. And then for me personally, I also got really into alternative music and metal and all of that, and then that kind of led me into finding Visual Kei. And then from Visual Kei, I did end up taking a little bit of a break where I wasn't listening to J-pop as much. I wasn't listening to Visual Kei as much. I ended up going back into my roots of alternative music and metal music, English-speaking music. And then I was a real staunch, I'm not going to listen to K-pop, but of course I fell into the K-pop wave. And then I came back to my roots of love for J-rock right after that. So I think there really is this interesting sort of event piece that works out where we start off liking maybe alternative music, or maybe you started off liking J-pop music. Somewhere, somehow, we found our love for Visual K. Then we ended up finding our love for K-pop, and then we make our way back where we are loving all of the genres all at the same time. To be fair, it's really hard to keep up with. But again, as I stated, I really wanted to see a Visual K group in Japan. And the group that I ended up finding, I found two groups: Smileberry, which we'll talk about on a later episode, and Royz, of course. And with Roy's, surprise accident happened with him. So I definitely had purchased tickets. At the time of 2018, it was a lot easier for a foreigner to buy tickets because I did not have a working Japanese cell phone. But I was able to buy the tickets at the convenience store. I was able to register online even without the phone number, get the tickets, purchase them through the convenience store. Was able to see them. We'll talk about, there are definitely tiers when it comes to how you go into the venue, but we'll talk about that in a second. But after I bought the ticket, knowing I was going to go see them, I was seeing them for their album World Is Mine tour. And I was super stoked, really excited about it. So, of course, then I was like, okay, well, this is my group. This is who I'm interested in. So I went and, was it 5-star? I believe it was 5-star. I'll post the photo. I went to 5-star. 5-star is a Visual K. 5-star is a place where you can buy Visual K CDs. That's pretty much like all they sell. You will definitely see pictures of your favorite V-Kei artists at 5-star, at Tokyo Records, at all these places, sort of doing little fan meet and greets. And so when I went to go buy, at the time I did not buy the World Is Mine album. At that time, I ended up actually purchasing, the album that I ended up purchasing from 5-star was their 2016 release of SIVA. And from there, that was a full album of 12 songs. But when I was buying that CD, they were actually having a meet and greet not too long after, because they were about to come to Nagoya to do their performance. And so thankfully, the sweet lady at the front was like, do you want a ticket? Because after you buy the album, you actually get a ticket to go take a picture with him. And I was like, of course I do, in my very broken Japanese. And so she ended up giving me this ticket, and then that had the information of I was supposed to come back to 5-star. This 5-star was located in Osu. I was supposed to come back to 5-star and then go out. And Osu is a great shopping district. Love Osu. It's one of my favorite places. If you ever visit Nagoya, you got to go to Osu. But I digress. I was able to get a meet and greet pass, little ticket. It allowed me one photo with the band right before their show the next day. So I ended up going back to 5-star, and the first thing that they had was an event where it was an actual Q&A session. I did not have the ticket for the Q&A session. I think that was fan club specific, or it was a ticket you could have gotten earlier. But of course, by the time that I was getting the ticket, that was gone. That wasn't an option. So I was like, that was cool. So I ended up walking away from that and then coming back later. And that's when I got to meet them and take a very cute picture with them. I'll post it on Instagram for you all to see. Again, with my very broken Japanese, I was basically saying I was excited to meet them. And then at that time, I had just gotten my nose ring, so they were asking about my nose ring, which is funny because of the fact that they all have their piercings. But they were asking me about my nose ring. None of them had the septum piercing like I had, but definitely they asked if it hurt, and I was like, yeah, it did. And then from there, they were like, okay, well, we'll see you later. And I then left the event because it was really just like take the picture and then go. I could have gotten the picture taken with a Polaroid camera. As we all know, that's really popular with Visual K. Those are called checkis. And I opted not to at the time because while I was definitely into Polaroid photos, I got more into it at the later part of my time studying abroad, and I knew I wanted that like digital evidence that I could post online. So of course I was like, I want it with my camera. And so that was a really special experience that I didn't think that I was gonna get. Then the next day was the concert. I ended up bringing a friend with me because of was a little worried of going to concerts on my own. I did end up going to a Japanese concert on my own. That was just your traditional actual metal concert, and it was very traditionally metal. Depending on where you live, you might know like it's the mosh pits and all that. I went to go see Cold Rain at that time. But with Royz, I went to go see their concert. Their concert was for the World Is Mine album. I had a blast. Of course, I was following along with the Fritsuke that all of the fans were doing. It was really a special time. And going back to the ticketing process of all of this, when you buy your ticket has a number. You must stand in the area where your number is so you can enter the venue accordingly. So of course, like if you're a part of the fan club and you got the tickets much earlier, you are closer to the front. Whereas if you got the tickets later in the process, you're going to be closer to the back. That's the same system that I'm understanding is still in place now. So this is not one of those places where when you go to a concert, you can try to push yourself to the front. There is a respectful way of getting into the venue, and you should basically kind of just follow along with everyone. The venues are great in terms of sizes. They're not overly big, they're not overly small, so it's very comfortable. And you can see no matter where you are. At that concert, I definitely bought some merchandise. I bought myself a light stick because, of course, I love a light stick. I was really into K-pop by 2018, so like I knew a light stick was what I was gonna get if that was a thing that the band did, and it was definitely a thing the band did. And then, of course, they took a group picture at the end of it, and the concert was a blast. I had a great time. My one friend that I brought along with, she didn't know anything about Visual K, so this was just her tagging along with the experience, and she too had a blast. Like, she was a great person to go with. Going into what Royz is up to today. So, some current information to know about Royz is as of March 7th, they released their spring single Start Line with 3 songs: Start Line, Evil, and Lip Service. Definitely something I've noticed with Royz, and I've noticed with a lot of bands. Most of them put out EPs and singles pretty much quarterly around each season. Not always, but most of the time that's what they're releasing. Albums come out maybe every couple of years because their albums are compilations of their singles along and EPs along with some of their newer materials that they're creating for it. So that's just something to look out if you're thinking about buying CDs. Know that you might not get the traditional album of like 12 songs. You might just be getting 3. Sometimes when it comes to the CDs, you will find a photo card. I at least know when I bought The World Is Mine and SIVA. Those came with a photo card, and it was real cute. I enjoyed that. And of course, their pictures are in the album too. So if you're thinking about purchasing V-Kei CDs, just keep that in mind. And of course, again, they have different versions of them, and the different versions just either come with like extra songs or extra videos attached to it. But they just came out with their Start Line with 3 songs. Like I said, Start Line, Evil, Lip Service. They have been confirmed to be on a massive festival called Masked 2026. You have probably seen a lot of your favorite Visual K artists showcasing, especially vocalists, showcasing themselves with the word masked. That is a huge festival that is happening May 22nd and May 23rd at Spotify O East, Spotify O West, and Duo Music Exchange. So that's like 3 locations with over 25 bands performing. I do know that Royz is performing on day 2. I'm not particularly sure which location. I am aware from jrock.com that Masked through, if you use X, which I do not, if you use X, you can find the English, they have a English account where they're also giving ideas, so you might find exactly where Royz will be performing. I'm sure as we get close, Royz's social media will also showcase where they're performing. But I do know that they are performing on the second day. Off of the Royz's website, they stated that released on January 1st, the Royz will begin their one-man tour, Giant Killer Show #1, and that starts March 14th in Chiba, and their tour final, which will be a free live in Tokyo on April 26th at Toyo's Pit. So again, look out for their social media. That is when that tour begins. And then, of course, they'll have their second leg of the tour beginning July 9th in Saitama. And the tour finale will also be held September 16th in Tokyo. If you live in Japan, they do have a fan club. I haven't tried to join their fan club from outside of Japan. But basically what a fan club is they will have... Oh, before we get into their fan club, let me explain a one-man tour. A one-man tour just means it's a tour for them only. That means that they are the only band that's performing. I would say, if I'm thinking about my experience of 2018, I don't know how much changed for now, but my experience in 2018 was that it was just them. I think the show started about 6 or 7. When you go into most venues, you usually have to pay. So, of course, you can pay for your ticket online or through the convenience store. So that is, you can credit card transaction or cash, whatever you may want to, however you want to pay with that, right? When you get to the venue itself, though, most of the time there is a fee at the door. Usually 500 yen, but it can vary, and they're pretty good when they're, especially like through X or through Threads. You can see through their official band count that it usually will say like a $500 interest, 500 yen, not dollar, 500 yen fee. That fee usually goes along with a drink ticket. And that drink ticket can be anything from alcohol to, if you just need some water, you can use it for that. But it is a mandatory fee. It doesn't matter if you wanted to drink or not. It's going to be kind of like, think about if you're someone who's interested in the masked event, most likely that fee is going to be there too for the event festival that's occurring. But that 500 yen will go to a specific band. If you're there to see, like if I was there, I would be there to see Royz. And so I would be giving that 500 yen to Royz. And I'm not sure because this is a different type of event, but there are like one-man tours, two-man tours, and then events in the Visual Kei world. And this festival absolutely falls under event category because of the amount. So that not only allows the bands to see how many of their fans are there, but it also allows for the band to also get some, I guess, more money out of that. I'm not entirely sure of all the nitty-gritty behind, but that 500 yen fee is mandatory. So just make sure that you have the cash on you. It is not a Venmo/Cash App situation. You need a 500 yen coin or 1,000 yen, and that will be broken. But going back into the fact that, yes, Royz is on their one-man tour, basically between March 14th all the way to September 16th. During that time, also, they will have special shows. If you're part of the fan club, they will have fan club-specific events occurring. They will also have their birthday events, because as we know, July 5th, July 3rd, and May 11th are the members' birthdays, 3 of the members' birthdays. So that will be coming up there. Look on their website. Their official website is royz-web.net. You can absolutely find out all their news on there, and any updates of their shows, and any of their special events. You can also join their fan club, which can guarantee you some exclusive content, early ticket access and release, and exclusive fan concerts that you can only get through the ticket. Because some of their tours, I have noticed, and I noticed in 2018, some of the tours are fan club specific. But yeah, that's the current information that's happening with Royz right now. Let's move on to the song recommendation corner. So this is the corner where I try to do 5 songs that I recommend people listen to from Royz. I like them for all kinds of reasons. I'm not going to call them my top songs because sometimes when it comes to some of your favorite groups, and by your, I mean my favorite groups, it's really hard to just pick 5. I will be posting these songs, links to the songs in, I will be posting links to these songs, or I guess links to the playlist. I will be posting playlist links for and where you can find these songs. Again, thankfully, a lot of things are on streaming. When I went abroad in 2018, they were just starting. I think even by the time that I was in Japan, they didn't have very much on streaming. But it wasn't until I finished my study abroad program and the summer hit, they started saying that they were going to put their stuff on streaming. So like 2018 was a good year for Visual Kei because a lot of Visual Kei artists were putting their stuff on streaming. They were branching out of just having their content only available in Japan, and now it was available to all of us around the world. So the song recommendation corner are going to be the 5 songs that I recommend people listen to, especially if you have not listened to the group. And they will be in playlists that I will link in the description, along with in a playlist on YouTube for some of the songs that might be available through Royz's official website, official YouTube channel. So, starting off the list is Lip Service from their Start Line single that they just recently released. The next couple of songs are going to be from the album World Is Mine because, again, it's such a special place in my heart. The songs that I recommend from the album World Is Mine is Antithesis, Anthem, Synchronicity, and Hello World. Hello World, I always like a little soft jam in a song, in a playlist, and Hello World was also the ending song for their concert, and it really just stuck with me. I thought it was a really nice song. So absolutely that had to be on this list. And then the last recommendation is Junjo Catline from Transform single, from the Transform single. Again, I will be linking these songs through a playlist, through Spotify playlist and an Apple Music playlist, and also videos to a playlist on my YouTube page that will direct you to the Royz's YouTube channel. Thanks for listening. Please check out the playlist that I've created under whatever streaming platform you listen to. If you have artist recommendations, topics you would like me to cover, please list them in the comments. Each episode is going to be a little different, but next episode will be band specific as well. Thanks for listening to Visual Kei the Podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Each episode will come out on Tuesdays. If you have any artists you'd like for me to cover, please put them in the comments. And with that, I will see you next time. Bye!